welcome back to another episode of the Shelf Podcast. I am excited to say that this episode we have the next installment of a series we've already featured back at the beginning. Episode 2, we had the Triplets Curse, Hope's Story. Now, Marsha Black has shared with us the Triplets Curse, Destiny's Story. This book is not out yet. I'm going to give you all of the links to the release party events that Marsha has going on, and the book actually comes out on the 22nd. So we're going to get this out to you the day before the release of the book. That way you can get right in there and jump in as soon as it releases. If you've already read the first book, if not, go grab the first one or take a listen to episode 2 to make sure that it's something you're going to want to read, and then jump in, get that one done so you can move on to this next one and be ready for the third book when it comes out. So here we go. The Triplets Curse, Destiny's Story by Marsha Black. Prologue. The Prophecy. I got ahead of myself. The Prophecy. When the moon is full, high above the earth, 3 daughters shall be born. On their 16th birthday, their destiny will begin. 1 daughter, born with knowledge of the future, yet blind of those closest to her. 1 daughter, born to endure pain and heartache before being reborn. 1 daughter, born to determine the fate of the world. In order to survive, 3 must work as one, or all is lost. This is the Triplets' Curse. Prologue. A few days before homecoming. Alarms go off in ICU room 212. Doctors and nurses rush in as a code red is called out. As they check vitals and prepare to resuscitate the patient, the machine flatlines. Disheartened, a glance at the clock on the wall shows the time of death is 11:15 p.m. A nurse grabs the deceased patient's chart with a sad sigh, thinking, too young to have died. She still had her whole life ahead of her. She reads the name on the chart before marking the time of death stated by the doctor, Destiny Baskins. Chapter 1. Pain is gone. Hunger is gone. Fear is gone. A feeling of weightlessness encompasses my body as I sigh in relief. The dull sound of crying breaks through the peacefulness that I'm feeling, causing me to look around to find the source of anguish. As though blind, I'm unable to see where it's coming from. Frantic, I glance all around me, when a strong push sends me toppling off my feet. I let out a squeal of surprise. That turns into a yell of pain as all feeling returns. I open my eyes as my arms and legs scramble for purchase. Even as my stomach clenches in hunger and pain rockets through my body, I hear footsteps running, but the pain is too much and I pass out before I'm reached. An unknown amount of time later. I'm awoken by whispers and a grip that tightens around my hand. My finger twitches as I try to force my eyes open. A gasp sounds and the hand around mine lets go. I hear sounds of fumbling and I feel a slight weight that causes whatever I'm lying on to dip as their body weight presses on it. Finally managing to open my eyes, I notice that everything is fuzzy and I hear footsteps running again. They slow as they get closer, and yet I'm unable to make out who it is or where I am. I know they're talking, but I don't seem to understand what they're saying. Raising my arm, I feel a tug on it, so I use my other hand to reach over and trace as far as I can try and figure out what it is. I struggle to talk. However, my throat is so dry I can only make a croaking sound. The whispering continues as my vision starts to clear. The more it clears, the more pain starts to filter through as well. I gasp and curl up into a fetal position as the pain increases. I barely notice that the talking has stopped until, blessed be, the pain eases. I slowly extend my legs, testing the pain level as I look up. A teary voice says my name, causing me to slide my glance from the person at the side of me, in a white lab coat, to a woman holding her hands clasped in front of her, as if praying. The final bit of fuzziness leaves my sight, and I burst out crying at the realization that the woman in front of me is... "Mom?" I ask, not quite believing what I am seeing. "Destiny, if you can, I'd like for you to try to drink some of this water," the woman in the lab coat says softly. Without looking away from my mom, I nod and open my mouth to drink from the straw placed at my lips. I sigh inwardly at the blissfully cool water sliding down my throat, coating the soreness. I move away from the straw and struggle to sit up, forcing my gaze from the woman to look around and see where I am. The woman leaves my side and walks over to who I believe to be my mother. Shooting me a glance, they speak in a normal tone. The pain meds I just gave her should help for a while with the pain, and the ice water can be refilled as needed to soothe her throat. She may be disoriented for a while, so be patient. She's been through a lot, and we don't want to push her, causing a downward spiral. I understand. Would it be all right if I get my husband and her sisters? I'm sure they would love to see for themselves that she's awake and The woman breaks off with a sob. Placing a hand on the sobbing woman's shoulder, the person who I now realize is a doctor glances at me before saying, "I think we should limit visitors for now. However, you can bring one sister with you, and then your husband and your other daughter can take your place. Basically, no more than 2 of you at a time, at least until we get Destiny out of ICU." "Okay, I can work with that," the woman says as she walks towards me. Grasping my hand, she stares deeply into my eyes as she says, "Honey, I love you, and I'll be right back." Kissing my forehead and gliding her fingers down my face, she gives me a watery smile as she lets go and walks out of the room. Monitors start going crazy, and the noise becomes overwhelming as my heart races in what I can only describe as terror. My palms become sweaty, my breathing becomes erratic, and I feel as though I'm going to pass out. The doctor races to my side and tries to talk me through my panic attack. I can't fight whatever's happening, and with a sad sigh and frown marring her features, she pulls out a syringe and empties its contents into my IV. My body grows heavy, as do my eyes, and it's too hard to keep them open, so I close them and fall asleep with a contented sigh. An unknown amount of time later. Once again I'm woken by the sounds of whispered voices, this time male and female. I try to hear what's being said as I come out of the grogginess that took me over. With my mouth as dry as I imagine the desert to be, I rasp out one word: water. The voices stop, and I hear the squeak of their shoes as both of them turn towards me before rushing to my side. Opening my leaden eyelids, I make out the features of my mom and dad. I start to smile, but stop when the tug of my lips causes me pain. Seeing my grimace, my mom reaches for the water at my bedside and brings the straw to my mouth as Dad raises the bed. Silence reigns as I drink my fill of the water. When I pull away from the straw, Mom and Dad reach for each other's hands and place their other atop mine. Tears fill their eyes, causing my own to water. My dad clears his throat before speaking quietly. "Destiny, I love you so much." I watch as tears trail down his cheeks. I'm so happy to know that you're still with us and fighting. I'm so proud of you. A sob escapes my mom before she speaks. "The doctor sedated you earlier after I left. I'm not sure what happened to you to cause you to need that to be sedated, but your father and I agreed that it would be best if we didn't bring your sisters to visit until you're ready." I nod, saddened that my sisters aren't here, but try to give my parents a reassuring half-smile. I grimace as the pain starts to radiate through my body again, and my dad rushes to the door calling for a nurse. I look at my mom as I say, I'm so hungry, but I hurt too much. What happened to me? Before Mom can answer, a nurse walks in and asks if I'm in pain. When my response is affirmative, she takes a syringe out from her vest pocket and inserts it into the IV. Within seconds, I breathe a sigh of relief as the pain recedes. The doctor has ordered you a fluid diet for the next few days, and after further evaluation, you may graduate you to a mush, as I like to call it. Basically, mashed anything and everything. I'll put an order in, and we'll start working on getting rid of those hunger pains. I let out a sigh of relief that I'll be getting something in my stomach soon. It feels like forever since I last ate. Looking at Mom and Dad, I ask, what happened? Why am I in the hospital and feeling like death warmed over? I watch as they quickly glance at one another, worry shining in their eyes. Mom's eyes water as her mouth opens on a gasp. She grabs her stomach as though in pain as tears stream unchecked down her face. Dad looks sad as he glances from Mom to me. With a sigh, he sits in the chair next to my hospital bed and grasps my hand with both of his. Keeping his eyes on our hands, he begins to tell me a story. Chapter 2. Once again, my breathing becomes erratic and my heart rate increases. The heart monitor starts going crazy and my dad stops speaking. The same nurse as before rushes into the room and shoots a sharp look at my dad. I grin at his chastised look, grateful for the distraction as my heart makes its way back to its normal pace. The stupid machine is going to drive me bonkers before I get out of here. The nurse checks over all of the monitors and asks me a few questions. I guess just double-checking that I'm fine. When she turns away from me, I shoot Mom and Dad a confused look and give them a slight shrug. We grin at one another, breaking the tension my dad's story caused. It sounds so unbelievable. My sister, Hope, went through all of that, and Derek and I were found thanks to her? They aren't sure what happened to me and are hoping that I'll be able to fill in the blanks, but beep, beep, beep. Ugh. That darn heart monitor is at it again. This time I get the sharp look from the nurse. I scowl back, annoyed at the annoyance of being hooked up to a stupid machine that goes off with the slightest rise in my pulse. Determining that everything is fine, the nurse finally turns to walk out of the room. Before exiting, she turns back to my parents. No more stress, or one, if not both of you, will need to leave. Visiting hours are almost over, and we usually don't kick the parents out of a minor out. But under the circumstances, I'm sure the doctor will request otherwise in this case, if undue stress continues with my patient. Mom and Dad glare at her before begrudgingly saying, "Fine, Nurse Dad." I cover my mouth, hiding a grin at how childish my parents are acting. I've never seen them behave this way. Well, outside of when they are around just my sisters and me. My grin fades as a thought intrudes. What if this is their way of coping with everything that has been going on since I've been, missing? As Nurse Dyad walks out of the door, an orderly walks in with a soup jar container. I grimace, wondering what I ever did to deserve such an interesting and hopefully tolerable liquid diet. Dad leads Mom over to the chair he vacated earlier when the nurse walked in. He stands behind the chair as she sits and rests his hands on her shoulders. "Honey, I know that what we've told you is a lot to take in, and we really don't want to get kicked out, so we won't tell you any more of what has gone on. At least, until you're no longer hooked up to the heart machine," Mom says, while shooting a glare at the same machine that's been driving me nuts. "Mom, you do know that glaring at the machine won't hurt it, right? It doesn't have feelings," I point out, grinning at both parents. Letting letting out a huff of air, Mom gives me a small grin as my dad busts out laughing. It feels good interacting like this. It helps to keep the memories that are fighting through it at bay. I'm not ready to deal with any of that yet. I just want to enjoy being with my parents. I noticed Mom and Dad glance at each other and realized that my facial expressions may have shown the direction my thoughts were heading. So, you think they'll let Hope and Faith visit soon? I asked. Hearing their sighs of relief, I am glad I spoke, breaking the tension. I think, as long as you do well, we can take turns bringing your sisters to visit. Right now, Dr. Hughes is making sure you're comfortable and not overwhelmed. It was, touch and go there for a while. Mom's voice wobbles as she answers my question. Touch and go? What do you mean? I ask, panic settling into my stomach. Let's not go into that right now, honey. Sip your dinner, and if you want, we can turn the TV on or something. Dad jumps in. Okay, how about my phone? Can I get that? Once again, Mom and Dad shoot each other a glare before Mom speaks up. We're going to have to get you a new one. We'll get you one tomorrow when we head home to grab your sisters. What kind would you like? Unsure of what to say, I take a sip of the container the orderly brought me. Thankfully, it was lukewarm and didn't taste as bad as I was imagining. It's kind of like the broth of chicken noodle soup. Once I set the container down, I put on my best sad face as I request, "Can I get the newest iPhone?" Giving me an "I know what you're doing" look, Dad grins. We'll look into it. With everything you've been through, I think you deserve it. With a gasp of surprise, Mom cuts in with, "Don't spoil the girl, dear. She may deserve it, but we can't let everything that's happened to change how we've always raised these girls." Giving a slight nod, he says, "Let's discuss it on the way home later tonight. Let's just spend some time with our girl before exhaustion weighs in and she passes out on us." With a grin in my direction, Dad catches the yawn I try to hide. We may be too late. Let's sit quietly and just enjoy being together as Destiny falls asleep. Just before sleep claims me, I hear my mom whisper, "Thank God she returned to us." A couple of hours later, a noise wakes me, and I almost scream. Stuck between sleep and waking, the nightmare of being kidnapped and chained to a bed flashes through my mind before it focuses on the nurse checking my vitals. Hearing the heart monitor going crazy, she glances at me. Shh, it's all right. You're safe here." Something in my eyes must have spooked her, because the next thing I know, she steps away from me and runs out of the room, calling for a doctor. Mom and Hope walk through the door, looking at the nurse, who just ran out as if she'd lost her mind. Hope turns to me first and gasps, hands flying to her lips. At Hope's gasp, my mom quickly turns in my direction and rushes to my bedside. Destiny, you're safe. There's nothing to be afraid of. Nothing is going to hurt you now," she says, grasping my hand. "I need you to look at me. Concentrate on me and my voice." "Mom, let me. Maybe I can get through," Hope says, walking to take up space on the other side of my bed. When she grips my hand, the coldness of it shocks me out of whatever war I was locked in with myself. I quickly pull my hand away from Hope and grab one of the blankets I was given to wrap around it. "Geez, Hope, trying to give me frostbite or something?" Laughing, she leans over and gives me a huge hug. I'm not sure if I'm just getting frail from being in the hospital or what, but the girl was making it hard to breathe. As I manage a raspy breath, I look at Mom, panic shining brightly in my eyes. As Mom realizes what's happening, she taps Hope's shoulder, saying, "Give your sister some room to breathe. She isn't going anywhere." Chapter 3. A week later. Finally, the doctor finally gave the order for me to go home. Faith, Dad, Mom, and Hope have visited me every day, only leaving when they must. I met Hope's boyfriend, Bryce, once I was taken out of ICU. While he was visiting, I would feel a tug of something, which would distract me and cause me to look towards the doorway. I was also finally given the rest of my story from their perspectives while I was incapacitated. It's hard to believe what they told me, but what other explanation is there for the things I had seen, and what Hope and Bryce showed me of their own abilities? As I finish getting dressed, I hear my phone go off. I guess Mom and Dad came up with a compromise, so I did get an iPhone, just not the newest one as I had wanted. I pick up the phone and see a message from Hope. Hope. Hey, Destiny, Faith and I are looking for a parking spot and we'll drive you home. Mom and Dad are going to the pharmacy to drop off your prescription and pick up dinner. Destiny. Thanks. I'm just about ready. Dropping the phone back on the bed, I gather up the last of my items as I wait for my parents to arrive and sign the release forms. I feel a need to speak with Derek about what he went through. Maybe talking to someone who was there with me will help me be able to accept what happened. I haven't managed to get up the nerve to talk about what happened to me, and I'm unsure as to whether I'll ever be able to. Mom walks in with the doctor, and she pointedly reminds us that I am to see a psychiatrist for everything that has happened. We know, Mom and I say together, and with a grin, we walk out of the room that has been my home for at least the past week. I feel a little less guilty keeping what happened to my family, since I feel that they are still hiding something from me as well. I'm not sure what it is, but it's there, and I just can't quite put my finger on it. I see Dad waiting at the entrance of the hospital with a bunch of papers, which I assume are my paperwork and prescription. Did Hope text you and let you know what's going on? He asks as we draw near. Yep, they were looking for a parking spot last I heard, I confirm. You can hold off on going to school for a while, right? We can tell them that you need some time to recover after being released from the hospital, Mom says, teeth worrying her lip. I can't help but laugh at how much like a teenager her doing that looked like. Mom, Dad, chill out. I'm not going to school today or tomorrow. We then have the weekend, so I have 4 days to recover. I'm more than ready to go back to school and have things get back to normal. I pull my phone out of my pocket, and even as I grimace at the look of my reflection, I pull up my messages and send Hope a text. Hey, sis, at the front of the hospital. Drive on up and meet me at the entrance. I'll be waiting. Mom, Dad, and I walk out of the hospital, and they each give me a kiss on the forehead and a little wave as they walk off towards their car. I raise my face to the sky and enjoy the sun on my face and breeze cooling my body. Joy spreads throughout me at the feel of both. A pulling feeling toward the parking lot slithers its way through the joy, and I look around, trying to figure out the source of the pull when Hope chooses that moment to pull up. Great timing, sis, I say as I climb into the RAV4, keeping my eyes on the parking lot. As always, she grins. So, do you really want to go home, or do you want to come and check out Bryce's house? He lives in the same community as Jess, so you can imagine how nice it is. Maybe over the weekend. But I kind of just want to go home and relax. I need to try and make some sense of everything, and being home in my personal space I think will help, I say, feeling the need to explain as I see the happiness in her eyes dim. I think Destiny is right, Hope. She's been through a lot, and I'm sure more than we know, and it's probably best to take her home, Faith comments. With a dejected sigh, Hope drives us home. "What were you looking for earlier?" she asks as she pulls into the driveway. "What do you mean?" I ask. "As I was pulling up, you kept looking around the parking lot. I was just wondering why," she answers. "Oh, it's nothing. Maybe just overly cautious since being kidnapped in broad daylight." I can't help the contempt in my voice as I reply. Both Hope and Faith gasp at the sting my words cause them. Not able to deal with their feelings and my own, I open the door and head into the house, leaving my sisters behind. I make my way to my room, shutting the door behind me. As I look around my room, I take in the changes that the imposter, the creature that stole my life, made to my room. My personal space, my haven. I turn and rush out of that room. As I push past Hope and Faith, I say, "Let's go see your boyfriend's house. I can't be here right now." Without a word, they turn and follow me back to the RAV. We climb back in, and Hope drives us to Bryce's. They don't bother trying to talk to me, and I'm thankful for that. I seethe for the majority of the ride. However, I realize that it won't make a very good impression if I go over in my current mood. So, to distract me. "So, Faith, Hope got herself a boyfriend out of the deal. How about you?" A sadness enters her eyes that I hadn't noticed before. I almost open my mouth to take my words back, but she starts speaking before I can. "I did feel closeness with one of the guy's friends, Sean. He was sweet and funny, and I'm sad I didn't get to spend much time with him," she says quietly. "Why won't you?" I question curiously. I see her look at the rearview mirror and watch as she silently argues with Hope and appears to be having an internal struggle as well. In fascination, I watch as determination sets in her eyes and shoulders as she opens her mouth. "Sean died saving my life from the changeling that took over yours. He died a hero and will be greatly missed. I just wish that you had a chance to get to know him as we did," she says as tears fill her eyes. I reach back and wiggle my fingers to let her know I want her to place her hands in mine. "If in the short amount of time, as you say you spent with him, he left that much of an impression on you, I wish I could have met him," I say with as much sincerity as I can muster to convey sympathy for someone I never met. As we release one another's hands, I notice Hope pulling into a driveway. Mouth widening in shock, I can't manage to form any words. Grinning at me, Hope says, "Nice, right? You might want to close your mouth before you wind up swallowing bugs." "Ew!" Faith and I both exclaim before we all start laughing. This is what I need. Normalcy. Hope lets out a little squeal and rushes to unbuckle and get out of the car. I shake my head grinning as I watch her run and jump into the arms of her man. As I work on unbuckling and getting out of the RAV, that annoying pulling feeling comes back. The tug is more forceful than it has been, causing me to stop what I'm doing and raise my head to look around to find its source. When I finally manage to locate the source, my breath catches and it feels as though my heart has stopped beating. Chapter 4. Blake. Following Bryce out of his house, I'm only half paying attention to what we are doing, at least until I feel a tugging sensation within my chest. Oh no. Before I can run out of sight, Destiny's eyes land on me, and my heart jolts as I stand like a statue-like, caught in her stare. I force my gaze away from hers, turn on my heels, and make a run for it. My only thought to get as far away from Destiny as possible. I vaguely hear voices calling my name, but instinct has kicked in, and I'm off. Not bothering to look back, I run as fast as my legs will let me, and as far as my lungs allow. When neither can take any more of the pressure I've put on them, I drop to my knees, gasping for breath. Once my breath is caught, I scream, "No!" The sound echoing as my mind and body crash. I awaken to coldness soaking into my hair and neck, making me shiver. Opening my eyes, I glance around and realize I'm back at Bryce's house, and everyone, including Destiny, is staring at me. I avert my eyes from Destiny as I go to sit up, realizing that the coldness I woke up to was from the makeshift ice pack that was under my head. With a pounding headache, I now feel. I guess I hit my head when I passed out. Crap. What kind of pansy am I to pass out thanks to a slip of a girl? This chick is more trouble than she's worth. Scoffing, I stand and force myself not to fall back on the couch. Through sheer will, I make my way to the bathroom to check for any other damage and to control my thoughts. It was fine and dandy watching Bryce and Hope be brought together, and we only guessed that the other sisters would have destined mates with someone from our group. But why in this twisted, messed-up world did one of them have to be mine? I don't deserve to find someone. I should have been dead in Sean's place. He had more to live for than I do. I'm a selfish jerk who doesn't believe in what we were brought up to believe in. Yeah, sure, I get the fighting evil bit, but really, only a set of triplets can win in good's favor? What bull. I want to fight the evil, not worry about the delicacy and squeamishness females are born and bred with. Yeah, so Hope managed to do her part, but come on, she got lucky, and could have been killed just as easily. If Hope is right, and the changeling was telling the truth, Destiny and Faith's fights are going to be even harder than Hope's. I don't want to leave it to a bunch of girls to get the job done. Then hopefully, once it's over, I can leave this stupid group and go do my own thing. Scylanthica, or in my own opinion, a cult, a prison, a do-not-pass-go, is a group of guys no chicks need apply. From a young age, we boys begin training to fight, training to train the triplets in case they come up during our lifetime. We eat, breathe, and live for these girls, so that we can train them to defeat the evil. Sounds like a wonderful way to grow up, huh? I was fine and dandy with all this crap when I was younger, but as I got older, I began to resent everything Scylanthica stands for. Staring at my reflection in the mirror, I turn on the cold water in the sink, splash some water on my face, and with renewed determination, I straighten my shoulders and walk out and back to the living room, where everyone is gathered. I'm fine. You all can stop hovering now, I say. Bryce is the only one who steps up into my personal space, lays a hand on my shoulder, as he quietly says, "Hey, man, I think I know what's going on. So if you want to talk, let me know." I sigh in disgust, shrug his hand from my shoulder, and walk past him. Heading out the back doors to the spot I found a week ago after first filling the pool towards Destiny. As I climb the tree that caught my attention and rest upon its highest branch that'll hold my weight, my mind wanders back to when I first saw Destiny, a week ago. Sitting in the waiting room with Bryce, Hope, and Faith, I start feeling restless. I jump out of the seat saying, "I'm gonna grab a snack. Is this on purpose, guys? Want anything?" Seeing everyone give a shake of their head in a negative response, I stuff my hands in my pockets and walk away. I didn't feel it was appropriate to whistle while walking in the halls of the hospital, even though I really needed to go to do something to keep the monitors making noises in every room I passed, reminding me of when I last saw my mother. To distract myself, I think over what I'm going to do once the prophecy has run its course. My dad and I aren't on the best of terms, but I don't want to kick him out of my life. Bryce, well, he and I used to be friends until I grew old enough to have a mind of my own. Sean, I sigh, his death was a waste. It never should have been him who was killed. Sean was the peacekeeper between Bryce and me. He was the only one that kept us from ripping each other apart as we got stronger and older. I make it to the cafeteria without incident. and grab my go-to snack, Crunch Bars. After selecting a pop, I turn back and begin my trek to the waiting room. Before I make it there, I find myself turning down a hall and peering through the small window in the door. I see Mr. and Mrs. Baskins, and as that tug strengthens, I turn my glance to the girl lying on the bed. A shock jolts through my body as a sense of connection hits me. Shaken, I turn and walk as fast as I can towards the waiting room. Present time. As I come out of the memory, I realize how much of a chicken I must look to the others. Berating myself for showing any signs of weakness, I swing off the branch and move towards the trunk of the tree as I shimmy down it until my feet hit the ground. I begin my trek back to the house when I stop at the sight of Destiny pacing along that pathway into the woods. I take a moment to watch her. Before walking into the clearing, I wince as the sound of a snapping twig under my foot echoes through the yard, causing Destiny to stop mid-pace and turn in my direction. Stomping over to me, I practically see steam coming off of her. Wait a minute. Steam is coming off her. Stop, I holler as I race towards her. She holds her hands in front of her to try and prevent me from running into her, but I tackle her anyways. Stop, drop, and roll at the forefront of my mind. Chapter 5. Destiny. Unable to react, I emit a yelp of surprise as Blake tackles me and the air is knocked out of me. The next thing I know, he's rolling us around on the ground. What is wrong with this guy? He takes off running at the sight of me. He has a chip the size of Texas on his shoulder, as far as I can tell, and now he's rolling around with me on the ground. Stupid boys. As if I don't have enough to deal with. I don't need a cute, heart-stopping guy to mess up my plans. Get off of me, you idiot, I say while trying to shove him off me. He leans away a bit, examining as much of me as he can from head to toe before standing. He reaches a hand out as if offering me to take it and help me up. Irritated, I swat it away, but not before noticing the electric shock of red and gold flash between our hands just before contact. What the heck was that? I jump to my feet and get right up in Blake's face, furious beyond belief. I feel exhilarated as I stand up to him. Backing away, hands up in surrender, Blake looks at me confused. You mean you don't know yet? He asks. Don't know what? You better answer me or... You know what? Never mind. I'm out of here, I say, turning my back on him, walking away. Hold on, wait a minute, Destiny, Blake hollers. I don't think so, I call back as I arrive at the back door. I open it, walk in, and lock it, letting us visit. I lock it behind me. Hope, Faith, I'm ready to go. Let's get out of here. Bryce's dad, thank you for letting us visit, but we must go now. Good day. I then proceed to walk out the front door and wait for my sisters at the RAV4. I see Hope and Faith walking towards me, and as soon as Hope unlocks the car, I get in, buckle up, and tap my fingers impatiently on the dashboard as I wait for the two slowpokes to join me. Once we are all settled, Hope starts the car up, and we are on our way home. Feeling the hair on the back of my neck stand, I know Faith is staring at me. I'm unsure as to what Hope is doing, outside of driving, as I'm trying to ignore them both. It's because of them I had to deal with that imbecile, and I don't feel like talking to them. My skin starts to feel overheated, so I roll down the window, causing my sisters to break the silence by exclaiming, "What are you doing? It's freezing!" I grin and roll it down further, tuning out their complaints, as I feel the air cooling off my body and the wind caressing my scalp as it flows through my hair. I vaguely make note of how in tune with my body I am, as I don't want to disturb the tranquility I've found. Too soon we park in the driveway behind Dad's car. Both Mom and Dad run out of the house, expressions furious. Where in the world were you girls? You were supposed to come home. For crying out loud, your sister just got out of the hospital and doesn't need you two taking her gallivanting around town, Mom exclaims as she runs up to me, holding me at arm's length, checking me from head to toe as if making sure I'm all in one piece. Dad just stands there, arms crossed, glare alternating between hope and faith. No matter how irritated I am with them about having me be the one to go outside and see Blake, someone I don't even know, I speak up. Mom, Dad, calm down. I'm fine. We did come home, but when I went to my room and saw all the changes that being made to it, I didn't want to be there. So I asked Hope and Faith to take me to Bryce's, so I could ooh and ah over his house, I explained. Once again, Mom breaks down in tears. Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. We didn't even think to check your room to see if anything had been changed. She glances over at Dad, and they have a silent conversation. Destiny, we can't do much about your room right now. But if you want, when my bonus check comes in around Christmas time, we can go shopping and you can redo your room any way you want, Dad says, and then grins wryly. Although, please try not to use all of the bonus money on your room. I would like to get you girls something nice for Christmas. At that, tension melts away as we all laugh. Aw, but Dad, I pretend pout, causing us to laugh even more. That would be great. Until then, I don't want to be in there. I turn and look at Faith and Hope. Would either of you mind sharing your rooms with me until then? Faith is the first one to speak up. Girl, you know I would. But we'd drive each other cray-cray. Hope lets out a sigh as we both roll our eyes. So true. You can share with me. Our personalities won't clash as much as either of ours do with hers, she says, just before sticking her tongue out at Faith. With a huff of indignation, Faith darts towards Hope, and the chase is on. Mom and Dad and I laugh as we walk towards the front porch, sit on the step, and watch the childish antics. Darkness filters through my happiness as I wonder what else I've missed out on while I was gone. I scoff. Gone? What a minimal way to look at being kidnapped and strapped to a bed for who knows how long, with little to no food or drink, feeling as though I was dying and wishing that I was already dead so I no longer had to be subjected to the misery that was my life. As if sensing my mood, my parents glance at me as Hope stops mid-run and jogs over. Hey, I'm going to take Destiny for a walk around the block while you two get dinner set up, she says to our parents. They nod, and Faith follows them into the house as Hope and I begin our trek. So, I'm pretty sure Mom and Dad haven't told you everything about what's been going on. As I open my mouth, she holds up a hand silencing me. It's not their fault, so don't blame them. We couldn't possibly explain everything to them. Do I even want to know, I ask? Not quite sure I'm ready to hear what Hope is obviously leading up to telling me. Grinning sadly, she responds with, No, you really don't. However, it's something you need to hear and believe. Can we ease me into it then? I plead. I'm having a hard enough time dealing with the bits and pieces I remember during my kidnapping and what Mom and Dad have told me. I can try, but it depends on you, she says. What the heck does that mean? How can easing me into it depend on me? Okay, I'll bite. What do you mean by that? Meaning, have you been feeling strange? Anything out of the norm going on? She asks. You mean outside of being kidnapped, starved, monitored 24/7 when at the hospital, and kept there longer than I probably should have been? I retort, sarcasm oozing. Hope stops suddenly, turns me until we are facing each other. You have no idea what I've been through, just as we don't know what you have. Mock the situation all you want, but don't get smart with me. I'm not Mama or Dad, and I refuse to coddle you. We have a part in something bigger than our feelings and sensitivities, so buck up, sister. You're in for a rude awakening. Shocked mute, I can only nod that I understand what she is saying. Seeing my nod, she continues. I faced that creature that had taken over your life on my own, along with what it did to you. It killed someone who had become a close friend to me. A sob escapes by this point. And then you, she stops as if realizing what she is about to say, Clearing her throat, she continues, Blake and I came to find out that we are destined mates, meant solely for one another. I can't help but scoff at this. You, Miss I don't need a guy, they only screw with you or hold you back. Hope Baskins? She grins and slaps my shoulder. Yes, me. Just you wait. You'll know what I mean once you experience it for yourself. Apparently one theory going around is that we, the three of us, will find our destined mates with the guys that will be training us. Sadness once again clouds her eyes. I had really hoped that Sean would be one of them. I wrap my arms around Hope and give her a hug as I say, well, lay it on me then. How do you know who your destined mate is if the theory turns out to be true? This way I know what to look out for and do my best to keep them away. Well, that's it for the first 5 chapters. If you want to know what else happens, you're just going to have to check it out for yourself. Check out the Facebook page for all of the links, including the release party for this book and where you can buy it. And you'll also be able to find on our Facebook page and on our Spreaker page and anywhere else you find our episodes, you can find Triplets Curse Hope's story, the first book. There's also a reading of that one and all of the links to be able to buy it so you can read the full thing. Have a great day and enjoy reading, bookworms.